really, it's based on the comments 50 Cent made about her.
Yes.
Really ageist, really derogatory. And we got chatting about that. And I was like, is she just being judged because she's a woman and she's 63? And then we sort of delved into it. And in my opinion, yes, she is being judged for her age and trying to remain, you know, sexually attractive and trying to look active and has a very young boyfriend. And I just got into it. Not only is it ageist, but it's misogynistic. And that's what we really dive into as well.
Sonia, what's your view on that?
Look, I think it's really interesting that we have one set of rules for women and one set of rules for men.
True.
And, you know, even we were talking about it, you know, there are plenty of younger celebrities who've had loads of plastic surgery and nobody passes any comment. Madonna does it to look younger, to look more relevant, to be sensational, to create her own publicity. Who knows what the reasoning is behind it? But she's no less allowed to do that than anybody else, you know? So, yeah, I mean, I think we have to think about the way that we're thinking. I think that the podcast is actually a kind of it's a crash course in discussion, conversation, disagreement, and really unpicking our societal issues. That sounds very heavy, doesn't it? But it's great fun too.
I think that's all about a good conversation, is tackling all of those topics.
Yeah, absolutely, from different perspectives as well.
We recorded today, actually, my weight loss secrets, which is, again, you can imagine on a Red Top magazine, but it's really about our journey with our fitness, but also our mother's attitudes to always being on a diet, you know, growing up in the 60s and 70s and 80s, about the way culture's changed, body positivity is now accepted and normalised, and it's brilliant. So what we dive right into these subjects, which
and
are
also about the psychology of food and our emotional sort of relationship with food, and that really changes how you decide to eat for your whole life, basically.
Yeah, totally.
And like, that's what I was going to say when we were talking about Madonna and talking about age and that sort of thing. Do you think, I mean, I've never seen anyone that looks like that at 63. I think she looks amazing, but I feel like, you know, is it putting pressure on women to look younger, or do you think it's pushing boundaries, or, you know, what sort of your thoughts on that?
I think we're very caught up with women and age. I think when we did Off the Rails, I sort of had this epiphany one time. We were making over women, and it was an amazing job. It was such a life lesson, spending time with women who were changing and wanted us just to push them a little bit through their clothing and their hair and their makeup. But I sort of concluded one day, nearly all of the women that we made over wanted to look thinner and younger. And I always found that quite disappointing. I was like, why do they want to look? They look great anyway. And we would always start with, today is what you've got. Let's make the most of what you've got today. And so that was our attitude towards it. So we're kind of obsessed on, is she trying to look younger? Is she putting pressure? I don't think that's her modus. Maybe it is. I don't know, because I've never talked to her about it. Well, there was this one time I had lunch with her.
I was waiting for this name drop to go boom.
Well, so you have met her before?
You do realise the whole podcast is an excuse to bring up the lunch with Madonna.
Is it an excuse?
He's so discreet.
Please
so
tell us the story. You have to tell us.
Well,
I
I believe before anybody writes in and complains that I have told this story many times on this couch.
We want to hear it again. We want to hear. Off you go.
I did have lunch with Madonna a number of years ago. And it was actually kind of weird and tragic. A very good mutual friend of ours had passed away, a wonderful man, David Collins, who was an interior architect. And he had dumped me for her 50th. Actually, he organised her 50th. So there you go, 13 years ago. And I was really angry with him. And I remember about 3 weeks later saying to him, I really want to meet her now. It's time. I'm allowed. And he was like, you will meet her over my dead body, which is the first thing I said to her. David said I'd meet you over my body. So in that sort of, we were both very sad, and I love that man very dearly. But it's a great way to meet somebody like that, because you had this
it's a leveler, isn't it?
And you had this emotion that we both connected on with. And then we arrived early at the reception, myself and her and Rory, a friend of mine, and that story made it into his touring theatre show. So I'm not the only one that goes on about it. But we sat with her.
But you're allowed to.
But I'm allowed.
You can
do you know what's really mad
that.
about that? And it's in the podcast. We recognised her elbow. We were in the packed
That is
church.
odd.
That is odd, right? And she came in, and there were loads of people with them. So we just saw the elbow, and we both went, that's her elbow.
Madonna's elbow.
I think that makes us super fans, right?
Kind of stalkers, that you know her elbow. Yeah.